Like in most epic fantasy series, there are many point-of-view characters, let alone important characters, in the Stormlight Archive. While their journeys and their destinations are never known prior to reading the next installment, it helps to understand their recent paths and goals as we look ahead to another Stormlight novel. There will be dozens of storylines in the 5th book of the series, so our goal is to try to keep track of it all. So let's go over our favorite characters, their recent accomplishments and failures from Rhythm of War, and their potential paths in Wind and Truth. Now, this is your jumping off point if you are looking to avoid spoilers for any of the books listed here on the screen. This video does not consider or cover any potential preview chapters that may have come out by the time this video is published. Today, we're reviewing the Kholins as we left them at the end of Rhythm of War. This video series is our preparation for Wind and Truth, as we try to cover as much as possible, leading into the climactic conclusion of the first arc of the Stormlight Archive. These videos wouldn't be possible without the awesome fan art from the incredible artists of the Cosmere community. Links to each of the artists' accounts can be found in the description. Check them out. As we've already covered Kaladin, Bridge 4, and Shallan, let's continue with that connection and start with Shallan's husband, Adolin Kholin. Adolin has just succeeded in his mission to convince the Honor Spren to rejoin the fight and bond new Windrunners, mostly thanks to his Shard Blade Deadeye Spren, Maya. Even with the stacked trial against him, he had not done particularly well with presenting his case to the Honor Spren, until Maya exclaimed for the entire city to hear that the Radiant Spren also chose to break their oaths during the Recreance. The Honor Spren did not believe that Deadeyes could speak at all, that their minds were completely lost to the damage from broken oaths. For Maya to be able to speak, it seems that Adolin needed to lend her strength, potentially in a similar way that Radiant Spren lend aid to their bonded Radiants. Adolin and Shallan believe that Adolin's devotion to Maya as a sword and interactions in Shadesmar have allowed her to improve from the state of most Deadeyes, which aimlessly wander Shadesmar when not summoned by their wielder. This, along with Ba Edo Mishram's release, could revitalize the multitude of Deadeye Spren created at the Recreance, and more recently, like Testament. With their arguments that it was always the humans who broke oaths defeated, many Honor Spren decided to leave with the humans to Urithiru to look for new Radiants. This was the goal of the mission, originally suggested by Sigzil, but the mission did not start out on a good foot between Adolin and his father. It seems that Dalinar and Adolin have yet to come to terms with the facts that Dalinar killed Adolin's mother, Evie, even if by mistake, and that Adolin killed Sadeas, even if in a moment of passion. Perhaps we will see the relationship mend in Wind and Truth, but their path forward is unclear. Adolin's immediate role in the story is also up in the air, as he may continue with Shallan on her quest, or return to the fight for the Coalition. While Adolin's abilities have been outpaced by the return of the Knights Radiant, Rhythm of War proved his impact on the story, even unbonded as one of our last non-Radiant viewpoints. Adolin's brother Renarin is one of the more unique cases of Radiant characters we have in the current story. The young Kholin is an enlightened truth watcher, his Mispren having been touched and corrupted by the unmade Isya-Anat. His Spren Gliss is not an agent of Odium or even Isya-Anat, but does grant Renarin some alternate abilities from standard Radiant Spren of his order. He retains the standard ability to heal himself and others using the Surge of Progression, but his Surge of Illumination has been altered to the point where he can't use it to disguise himself or others, like Lightweavers or unaltered Truth Watchers. He is, however, able to summon lights with different effects, and the connection to Odium's powers allows him some future sight, which Renarin and Gliss record in visions of stained glass for later study. This is perhaps his most important effect in Rhythm of War, because he is able to essentially block Odium's own future sight for those around Renarin due to them both being able to see the future. This shielded his father and those around him from being manipulated into a trap, but also potentially allowed Taravangian to spring his trap on Odium. We'll touch on that in a later video. Renarin remains a member of Bridge 4, along with Rlain, who was at Urithiru throughout the occupation. Rlain and Renarin have been close since arriving at Urithiru, due to their differences from the rest of the bridge crew as Singer and Light Eyes. By the end of Rhythm of War, Renarin had requested that one of Sja-anat's enlightened misspren be sent to him to bond. Rlain spoke the first ideal of the Truth Watchers with his new spren, Tumi, who had been watching from the gem heart of a Kremling in Urithiru. Rlain assisted where he could in resisting the occupation, and ultimately chooses to stay with the humans to ensure they do not make the same choice to imprison the Singers again, should they have that option. Although Tumi chose Rlain because of his actions, clearly Renarin has a plan for him. How their story progresses together will likely be very important to the results of Wind and Truth. Renarin's cousin, Queen of Alethkar in exile, Jasnah Kholin, is the only other confirmed 4th Ideal Radiant aside from Kaladin. Her efforts on the battlefield in Emul certainly helped defeat Odium's forces, recapturing Emul for the Coalition. The first Queen of Alethkar continues contemplating a proposal to outlaw slavery in Alethkar, including the Ardents of the Vorin Church. Though she has not made it law yet, she promised Dalinar and Navani that she will enact the policy. Jasnah also dispatched High Prince Ruthar, the last of the resisting High Princes from the pre-Desolation era, with the help of Renarin and Wit. Wit and Jasnah have become intimately involved, much to her mother's dismay. While their relationship is mostly secret, Jasnah is less interested in the physical aspect, and much more interested in the secrets that Wit, Oid, holds. The two discuss the eventual terms of the Contest of Champions, and how the wording must be crafted such that they can't lose on the larger scale, regardless of the contest outcome. Unfortunately, a Sleepless was spying on them for a portion of time. We have only observed the Sleepless twice other than this, both in the novellas previously released, in Edge Dancer with Lift in the alley near the Stumps orphanage, and in Dawn Shard with Risen's personal servant, Nikli. With their secretive conversations, Wit's vast knowledge, and Jasnah's digging questions, it's unclear what the Sleepless learned or was after. We'll talk about Wit in a later video of the series, especially pertaining to the events of the epilogue. Jasnah is always looking to understand the world, and though she is sometimes frustrated by the fact that the Herald Ash can tell her things of the past without research, the only Elscaller we know of is going to play a big role in deciphering the secrets that remain to the characters. While Jasnah is a renowned historian, her mother is one of the most successful scholars in her field as well. Navani gave a lecture to the scholars of the Coalition on the subject of fabrials, opening her research to the general public. Her presentation included fabrial mechanics and pleaded for assistance from the Thaylen Artifabrians, evident in excerpts from the speech, forming the epigraphs of Part 1 of Rhythm of War. That lecture took place sometime prior to Dalinar and Navani taking her new flying fabrial platform invention to exfiltrate the Mink and other humans from Hearthstone, a first flight for all of Roshar. Navani likely had the most impactful role in Rhythm of War, resisting the occupation of Urithiru despite being captured herself. While in captivity, Navani was able to discover several fundamental aspects about the way Roshar and the Cosmere function. Not only did the Queen of Urithiru uncover the Rhythm of War, the combined rhythm of honor and odium, she also discovered Anti-Light, created by using the rhythms and tones native to Roshar and the intent to create it. Both of these revelations will likely affect the Cosmere in the long run, but will certainly revolutionize the near-term conflict between the Coalition and Odium's forces. Navani's relationship with Raboniel, the fused who led the occupation of Urithiru, was instrumental in these breakthroughs, but they were also Raboniel's undoing. Raboniel first used the Anti-Light channeled into a Rasium knife on her daughter, a fused afflicted with madness from the eons of rebirths, permanently killing her, a mercy in the mind of her mother. Following this, Raboniel named Navani the Voice of Lights, an honor for giving the fused the ability to escape the war forever. The two scholars even co-authored their experimentation notes, titling the notebook after the newfound rhythm. Body text and undertext writings from Navani and Raboniel make up the epigraphs of Part 3 of Rhythm of War. But during the climactic conflict that liberated Urithiru, Navani used the knife on Raboniel as well. Following her revolutionary work in the basement of the tower, she bonded the sibling, the Spren of the tower. By doing this, she was able to blind Moash, who was attempting to assassinate her, and re-enable the tower and its defense mechanisms. The sibling entered the bonded relationship somewhat reluctantly, as she saw Navani as an oppressor of Spren as an artifabrian, capturing Spren in gemstones for use in fabrials. So while Navani may have unleashed deadly weapons on the conflict, she is the second and newest bondsmith, joining her husband's order, which will allow her to help the coalition in yet uncountable ways. As bondsmith to the Stormfather, Dalinar has made little meaningful progress in mastering his abilities. His third ideal ability of opening perpendicularities has served the coalition and the Knights Radiant well so far in the war against Odium's forces, but he has only been able to use his connection knowledge in sparse moments, such as when Nael confronted the king of Urithiru in Emul. He was able to see some of Nael's past using his abilities, and later he was able to connect to Kaladin in the High Storm as he was falling off the edge of Urithiru. As Honor's proxy, Dalinar made an agreement with Odium to establish a contest of champions to decide the outcome of the war. But with the contest approaching in just 10 days, Dalinar feels his bondsmith skills must be improved for success, so he is sending Kaladin to approach Ishar, patron herald of the bondsmiths and current wielder of the bondsmith honor blade, for help. Dalinar is taking this course of action after almost losing his bond with the Stormfather to Ishar, and the Herald of Luck had a moment of clarity in which he suggested Dalinar meet him in Shinovar. Ishar's capabilities with his honor blade far outmatched Dalinar's, and the Blackthorn thinks if he continues to lack here, there is little hope of victory in the contest. While Dalinar has made the decision to be his own champion in the contest, there are many more circumstances around the contest worth discussing. We'll use our final video of this Wind and Truth prep series to review the terms and possible outcomes. Dalinar's future hangs in the balance with that contest, and Renarin has described to him a potential future using his Enlightened Truth Watcher abilities. Renarin discussed the possibility with his father before the contest terms were finally set between Dalinar and Odium, but it remains an ominous potential prophecy. Dalinar, standing in bright white shard plate, holding a shard blade toward the sky with a black arrow through his chest and a golden force behind him. Given the upcoming battle against Odium's champion, you wouldn't be remiss if you thought that vision was telling of the contest results, despite Renarin's interpretation that it shows Dalinar struggling against the smaller fights, never being able to fight Odium directly. Renarin's argument is bolstered by the fact that Dalinar holds a blade, which Dalinar has sworn not to do in his bond with the Stormfather. We'll have to see if this is one of Renarin's future sight visions that comes to pass after all, or if it was more of a metaphor for Dalinar's coalition fights as he suggested. While Dalinar's direct impact on the plot of Rhythm of War was relatively limited for such a key character of the series, his role in Wind and Truth will certainly be front and center, despite the 5th installment being focused on Szeth, who we'll review in the next video. Dalinar is the cover character for Wind and Truth after all. One of Szeth's charges under Dalinar's command was to ensure Gavinor's safety while in Emul. The son of King Elhokar and Aesudan, who both died at the Battle of Kholinar, and grandson of King Gavilar, will likely one day be king himself. Gavinor was born a few years after his grandfather's assassination, and we still don't know exactly what Gavilar was trying to accomplish with his Sons of Honor before his death. While Jasnah is currently Queen Regent, Gavinor has been named her heir while he grows up. The boy is only about 5 years old, but he saw terrible things in Kholinar, and his grandmother, Navani, cares for him the most. Gavinor has openly expressed his hatred for Moash, as several others in the series and online have. It's unlikely Gavinor will play a direct role in Wind and Truth, but hopefully he survives whatever is coming with the fallout of the Contest of Champions, and can play a larger part in the second set of 5 Stormlight novels. So that's all of them, each Kholin discussed. 2 bondsmiths, 1 Elsecaller, 1 Enlightened Truth Watcher, 1 Future King, and 1 swordsman dedicated to his dead shard blade. They have played pivotal roles so far in the story, and we'll surely see them all in the thick of it in Wind and Truth. So which Kholin character's future are you looking forward to the most? Leave a comment below. If you have questions about the content or art used in this video, post them in the comments as well. We hope this has been helpful in reviewing the playing field ahead of the largest Stormlight Archive novel published to date, with likely the largest Sanderlanche in the Cosmere so far. We've already reviewed Kaladin, Shallan, and now the Kholins, so in our next video, we'll cover the other point of view characters like Moash, Venli, and Zeth. In the following few videos after that, we will discuss the status of the legendary and mythical figures of Roshar, and the final 10 days and El, all as of the conclusion of Rhythm of War, leading into Wind and Truth. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe for future videos. After all, we need to unarchive all these secrets.